Do you ever find yourself waking up at night to urinate? Isn't that the most annoying thing ever? Not only does it disrupt your sleep, but it makes you feel horrible the next day. So what can you do about it? That's exactly what I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful ways to reduce those nighttime trips to the bathroom. And yes, this video will truly change your life. Not maybe, it will. Welcome to the Female Health Podcast, where we uncover the truths about women's health that no one else dares to talk about. I am so grateful to have you here. I'm Dr. Lia Parker, gynecologist and intimate health psychologist with more than 30 years of experience helping women feel comfortable, confident, and in control of their bodies. And before we dive in, I want to share something special. Memberships are now open on this channel. By joining, you'll enjoy exclusive benefits, priority responses to your questions, and access to a private chat where you can ask me anything you'd like. It's a safe, personal space just for us, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Now let's begin. Most women over 60 believe that waking up again and again in the night to pee is simply what happens with age. Maybe you've told yourself, this is just my new normal, but what if that wasn't the whole truth? What if the constant interruptions, the broken sleep, the dragging mornings, were not just fate, but something you could finally change? I've seen it again and again. Women who thought they were stuck this way, suddenly discovering small shifts that gave them back the kind of deep, unbroken nights they thought they'd lost forever. And here's the promise. The 8 things I'll explain today will not only help you understand why this keeps happening, but also give you real, practical steps to stop it. And the very last one, women tell me it was the lifesaver. The thing that finally let them close their eyes and wake up hours later feeling whole again. Stay with me until the end, because that final secret ties everything together. Think about this for a moment. Your night doesn't actually begin when your head hits the pillow. It begins 2 hours earlier. And what happens in those 2 hours can silently decide whether you will sleep peacefully or whether you'll find yourself pulling back the covers again, frustrated, in the dark, heading to the bathroom. Most women don't realize this. They'll say to me, "But Dr. Parker, it was only 1 glass of water, or just a small cup of tea." Yet even that little sip can be the difference between staying asleep and being jolted awake at 2 a.m. Your bladder has no mercy. It doesn't care if it's plain water, herbal tea, or even that innocent little glass of wine after dinner. Once liquid goes in, your bladder will do its job, and when it stretches just enough, it sends a signal that you can't ignore. That signal rips you out of deep rest, shatters your dream, and drags you to the bathroom. And here's something many women overlook. Once your sleep is broken, it's rarely the same again. You don't just lose minutes, you lose the deep, healing part of the night. The very sleep that restores your energy, sharpens your memory, and calms your mood. That is why something as simple as your last drink of the evening matters more than most people ever imagine. So the very first step is this: give your bladder peace in the hours before bed. Stop drinking 2 hours before you lie down. If you absolutely must take medication at night, use just 1 small sip to swallow it. That single change, as small as it sounds, is often the first building block of an uninterrupted night. But here's the twist. It's not only how much you drink that matters, it's what you drink. Some women can drink the same thing at lunch with no problem, but have it after dinner, and their bladder reacts like it's been given a wake-up call. There are certain drinks that act almost like little alarms for your bladder. They don't just fill it, they irritate it, making it restless, twitchy, and impossible to ignore. Which ones? I'll tell you in a moment. Stay with me another minute, because once you hear this next secret, you'll realize that some of your favorite harmless evening habits may be the very reason your bladder is waking you again and again. Have you ever noticed how some nights feel worse than others? You follow the same bedtime, the same routine, but suddenly, your bladder seems to have a mind of its own. You're up at 1, then 3, then 5, and you wonder, what changed? Often the answer isn't how much liquid you had, it's what kind of liquid. Because not all drinks are equal. Some of them don't just fill the bladder, they irritate it. They make it twitchy, restless, and overly sensitive, so that even when it's not truly full, it still screams for your attention. And here's where it gets tricky. These irritants don't act the same on every woman. For some, the reaction is dramatic. For others, it builds quietly over time. That's why so many women never suspect that their evening comfort drink could actually be the hidden trigger for their nightly bathroom visits. So what are the biggest culprits? Let's start with the obvious ones: caffeine and alcohol. That soothing evening coffee or that single glass of wine, they may calm your mind for a moment, but they can leave your bladder agitated for hours. Even caffeine-free or light versions can sometimes carry enough of the irritant to cause trouble. But here's the part most women miss: there are other irritants too, far less obvious, that may only affect you. Some find that citrus, carbonated drinks, or even artificial sweeteners keep their bladder buzzing long after bedtime. Not every irritant bothers every woman, but if your nights are broken, it's worth paying attention. Here's a little test I share with my patients. Notice your nights after you skip just one of these irritants, then compare it to the nights when you indulge. That difference, that one night of deeper, calmer rest, can tell you more than any medical chart ever will. Because imagine this: instead of padding down the hallway at 2 a.m., you stay in bed, warm, breathing deeply, still asleep. That single choice before bedtime can mean the difference between a broken night and a whole one. And yet, even if you avoid irritants completely, there's another trap women fall into, one that happens right in the bathroom itself. In fact, most women don't even realize they're making this mistake until I point it out. I'll explain exactly what it is and how to fix it in the next part. Stay with me, because if you've ever thought you were emptying your bladder before bed, you may be surprised to learn you probably weren't. Let me ask you something. When you use the bathroom before bed, do you ever feel certain, absolutely certain, that your bladder is empty? Most women say yes. They sit down, they go, they flush, and that's that. But here's the surprising truth. Many women never fully empty their bladder, even when they believe they do. And this one mistake can quietly rob them of hours of precious sleep. Think of it like pouring water out of a pitcher. You tip it, the stream runs, and when it slows, you assume it's empty. But if you tilt just a little further, more comes out. Your bladder works the same way. It often holds back just enough that within an hour or two, that leftover urine becomes the reason you're awake again. And here's the frustrating part: you don't even notice it. You assume your bladder is weak, or aging, or betraying you, when really, it's that tiny bit left behind that is cutting your night short. I'll tell you the trick to fix it in just a moment. But first, let me explain why it matters so much. That small leftover volume puts constant pressure on your bladder walls. The bladder then misreads that pressure as urgency. It's like a false alarm system going off again and again, tricking you into thinking you must wake up. Now imagine this: you go through your usual bedtime routine, but instead of heading to bed after just one bathroom trip, you take a few extra seconds. You finish once, stand up, walk around, maybe brush your hair or fold your nightgown, and then you sit back down. And here's the secret: that second visit often releases what was hiding inside, what we call a double void. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but this one habit can completely change your night. By truly emptying your bladder before sleep, you may gain 2, 3, even 4 uninterrupted hours before your bladder calls again. I've watched women's faces light up after trying this. They never realized their body was holding them hostage in this way. But even if you empty your bladder completely, there's another silent saboteur you may not have thought about. Not food, not drink, not even your bladder itself. It could be the very pills you take. And if you take them at the wrong time, they may be forcing you awake over and over again. I'll reveal what I mean in the next part. There's something else that can be quietly working against you at night. Something that doesn't come from your diet, or your bladder, or even your habits before bed. It comes from a little routine most women never question. A simple pill they've been told to take faithfully. Now here's where it gets interesting. Many women do everything right. They stop drinking fluids before bed, they cut out irritants, they even double-check their bladder before pulling back the covers. Yet the nighttime waking continues, and they think, what else could I possibly do? The answer is often hidden in plain sight. The very medication you rely on for your health may also be the reason you can't stay asleep. And the reason isn't the medicine itself, but the clock. Think about it. You swallow that pill, go to bed feeling reassured, and then 2 hours later, your bladder is pulling you out of sleep again. Not because you drank too much, but because the medication is shifting fluids in your body, pushing them straight into your bladder at exactly the wrong time. This happens most often with what we call water pills, or diuretics. They are important medicines and for many women essential, but take them before bed and you've practically guaranteed yourself a restless night. The solution? It isn't to stop taking them. Never do that without your doctor's guidance. The solution is to adjust the timing. Moving them to earlier in the day, often around midday, means the medicine still works, but your bladder has time to calm down before nightfall. I cannot tell you how many women have come back to me amazed after making this small shift. The pill that was once sabotaging their nights suddenly becomes harmless to their sleep, simply because they no longer take it at the wrong hour. And yet this is only one piece of the puzzle. Because even if your medications are perfectly timed, something else you put into your body may still be setting your bladder off. Not medicine this time, but what's on your plate, the hidden link between sugar, salt, and your nighttime trips. I'll share that connection next. Stay with me, because once you see how food sneaks into this picture, you'll never look at your evening meal the same way again. Some nights, it isn't what you drink, it's what you eat. You sit down to a cozy dinner, maybe a little something sweet afterward, and you don't give it another thought. Hours later, though, you're staring at the ceiling, your bladder pulling you out of sleep yet again. Most women never suspect the real culprits hiding on their plate. They think, I didn't drink anything after dinner, so why am I still up? But the truth is that food, the sugar, the salt, the hidden ingredients you hardly notice, can stir up your bladder just as much as any evening glass of wine. Let's start with sugar. When your blood sugar runs high, especially in the evening, that extra sugar spills into your urine, and sugar in the bladder is like sand in a shoe, irritating, uncomfortable, impossible to ignore. Your bladder walls react, you feel the urge, and suddenly you're wide awake, trudging down the hallway again. Then there's salt. You wouldn't think a sprinkle here or a shake there could matter much, but salt is sneaky. It makes your body hold on to fluid all day long, and when you finally lie down at night, that fluid shifts, pours back into your bloodstream, and your kidneys go into overdrive. The result, a bladder that fills rapidly just as you're trying to sleep. Here's the part that surprises women the most. It isn't always the obvious salty foods that cause the problem. It can be the sauces, the packaged snacks, the healthy frozen dinners that carry more salt than you realize. And with sugar, it's not only dessert, even pasta sauces, breads and cereals can carry enough to trigger irritation. The good news is, you don't have to give these foods up completely, but paying attention to them, especially at dinner, can make a dramatic difference in how often you wake. Women who learn to cut back on hidden sugars and salts in the evening often find their nights growing calmer within days. And yet, even if you master food, another factor is still waiting in the background. It has nothing to do with what you eat or drink at all. It has to do with your legs and what happens to them every single day. I'll explain why swollen ankles, tired calves, and the way you sit or stand could be forcing you awake at night, and what you can do about it in the next part. Now let's look at something you probably never connected to your bladder at all: your legs. Think about how much of your day is spent on your feet, walking, standing, moving from one room to the next. Even sitting for long stretches puts pressure on your circulation. By the evening, your ankles may look puffier, your shoes may feel tighter, and you might notice that heaviness in your calves. Here's what most women don't realize. All that fluid doesn't just stay trapped in your legs. The moment you lie down at night, gravity changes its grip. The fluid that was sitting quietly in your ankles now flows back into your bloodstream. And what does your body do with it? It sends it straight to your bladder. This is why some women feel like they haven't drunk a drop before bed, yet their bladder fills as if they had a glass of water right on the nightstand. It isn't from what you drank, it's from what your legs were holding all day long. So how do you stop this silent cycle? The answer is simple, but it requires a little evening ritual. Before bed, elevate your legs, rest them on a pillow or recliner for a short time. Let the fluid return to circulation while you're still awake, not while you're trying to sleep. Another option is compression stockings. They may not sound glamorous, but worn during the day, they gently prevent fluid from pooling in the first place. By the time you lie down at night, there's less to shift and less to flood your bladder. I've seen women who went from waking 3 or 4 times each night to waking just once, simply by lifting their legs or using stockings in the evening, and the difference in their energy, their mornings, even their mood, was extraordinary. But here's the catch: even with all of these changes, your bladder may still cry out at night. not because it's full, not because of food, drink, or gravity, but because the connection between your bladder and your brain has grown weak and it needs to be retrained. That final secret, the one women call their lifesaver, is the key to calming your bladder's false alarms, and I'll reveal exactly what it is and how you can use it in the last part of this video. So far, we've talked about what you drink, what you eat, how your body holds fluid, and even how you empty your bladder. Each of those changes can help, but there's still one piece that determines whether your bladder listens to you or bosses you around. You see, over time, many women lose the fine-tuned connection between the brain and the bladder. The bladder sends a signal, "I need to go," and instead of calmly assessing whether that's true, the brain jumps up in panic. You rush to the bathroom, even if your bladder isn't really full, and that panic loop, repeated night after night, becomes a habit your body falls into. But here's the powerful part. You can retrain that loop. You can teach your bladder to wait, to hold more, and to stop screaming for attention when it doesn't need to. And the way to do that is surprisingly simple. When you feel that sudden urge, instead of rushing, pause, take a breath. Then do 3 to 5 quick pelvic squeezes, the kind of squeeze you'd use to stop the flow of urine. These are Kegel exercises, but done in rapid succession, right in the moment of urgency. What happens next feels almost like magic. That sharp, overwhelming urge begins to fade, the bladder calms, and in that quiet moment, your brain reclaims control. You can then walk calmly to the bathroom, or even wait longer before you go. Studies have shown that women who practice this urgency suppression regularly can reduce their nightly trips significantly, sometimes by a full wake-up per night. And let me tell you, that one less interruption can transform your morning. Imagine opening your eyes and realizing the sun has risen, and you've slept through. But this isn't just about sleep, this is about reclaiming control. It's about teaching your body to work with you again, not against you. Every sip you adjust, every irritant you avoid, every habit you reshape, becomes far more powerful when you pair it with this brain-bladder reset. So start tonight. Notice your evening routine. Adjust what you drink, what you eat, how you move your legs, and when the urge still sneaks up, use this secret tool to take back authority. Piece by piece, these steps layer together, and the reward is nights that are yours again. Because peaceful sleep isn't a luxury, it isn't wishful thinking, it's a right. And with these 8 changes, it can be yours again.